Welcome to the Healthy and Wealthy and Wise podcast with global sales trainer and professional speaker, Lois Kofi. Each week, it is her goal to share inspiration and education for you to be, do, have the best health and wealth and wisdom for your life.
Well, hello. Happy Friday to those of you who are tuning in live. This is Lois Kofi with our weekly Healthy and Wealthy and Wise broadcast. This is the live show, so if you happen to be tuning in live, please go ahead and play along. We love our live studio audience. Go ahead and put hashtag live and what city, state, or country, because this group is global. This is a group of positive, like-minded go-givers who are all about living their best life with their best health, their best wealth, and their best wisdom. And every week, I bring amazing experts and guests who are focused on one of those three topics. And sometimes we cover all three because I believe that healthy and wealthy and wise, or wisdom, it's kind of like my holy trinity of foundational pillars to helping encourage, equip, inspire you and myself. I always get inspired by my guests every week to be my best and to do my best so I could have my best results in life. So today we have Hans Parge here. I'm going to introduce him here in a second. Please, if you're watching this even on the replay, hashtag replay. And if you see value in this show today, go ahead and hit the share button and share it out to the masses, because we know during this pandemic, it's been a little crazy this year, right? And there's a lot of people. Hey, Sean is tuning in from beautiful, colder Minnesota. Nice to have you here, Sean. So excited to have live guests. So please, like I said, go ahead, share this message with your community. And of course, this will be showing up in iTunes and on YouTube this coming Monday. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce my friend, our guest today, Hans Parge, who's really, he's probably, not to take away from any of my other guests, he's probably the most just brilliant, smartest guy with a lot of depth and passion for health and wealth and wisdom. He has a passion for understanding things within a scientific context. He loves to live and lead a life of service. He's going to talk more about that today. He's also someone who, you'll hear his accent, but he grew up in Ireland. He actually has a PhD from Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland. He did a postdoctorate in Berlin at the Free University and the University of Edinburgh. And then he came a long way, ended up here in San Diego, where he worked at the Scripps Research Institute here. And he actually, this is mind-blowing to me. I can't wait for you to share more about this, Hans. He did atomic structural analysis of proteins, which are the molecules of life. So when I say he's really smart, he's really, really smart. So Hans, I'm going to turn it over to you because I know there's a lot we can learn from you today. You also have a big heart to go along with that scientific mind and background. So tell us more about how did you get into all of that, and tell us more about your story.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction, Lois, and also thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak to your community. It's an absolute honor and a privilege. And excuse me. So yes, when you look back in life and ask yourself, how did you get here? There are those few percentage people who have made a 30-year, 50-year, 90-year plan when they are coming out of their mother's womb. And then there's the rest of us that use the signposts of life to guide us along. So I think my interest and then the fun really started when I was probably in my late 20s and was introduced to the big molecules of life and how to look at them at the atomic level. And that brought me then to Edinburgh, to Berlin, to the Scripps Research Institute. And it was a wonderful career in science that ended up bringing me to a small startup in San Diego called Agaron that used that technology to inform drug discovery. So I'm sure it's a long answer, long Irish answer to your short question, which basically says I don't know. I just followed the signs, and at the appropriate times during that journey, people turned up and said, "Hans, you might want to look at this. This might be something of interest." And when I did, I found yes that they were right. It was something that was aligned with my journey.
That's so amazing. Well, knowing how much you know about science, and knowing that we talk a lot about spirituality in this group, and as part of my journey, health and wealth and wisdom, a lot of it for me was rooted in the very depths of my soul and my being. And then you put science into that mix. So I'd love to know, why do we do what we do? Like, do you understand? And I know it's kind of esoteric, but you and I love to talk about this kind of stuff as people are going through this pandemic and they're struggling to figure out what is next for me. How can we work together to help people and change the world, as so many people out there are being challenged by life right now and looking for answers and help?
It's interesting that you should say that, Lois. There's a funny saying when I was going through my own challenges like about 11 years ago, when they moved my cheese and looking to find another cheese to get dug into. Things will all be all right in the end, and if they're not all right, it's not the end. So if we hold on to that truism, that while we're going through the pain helps us grow. It helps us actually focus on what's important for us and to us, and helps us pick a direction. Definitely, we are now living in a world where collaboration seems to be coming more and more and more into the forefront than competition. And that wonderful acronym for team, together everyone achieves more. We've come to the point where competition has brought us this far. Collaboration will bring us that far. But we do need to evolve our consciousness into a more of an abundant mindset, rather than, oh, I need to kill you to have what you have so I can survive. And that, I think, if I remember, there was a meme that came up very recently. The only true wisdom is to know that you know nothing. And to be open. I think prejudice and ignorance are the two things that I have suffered from in my life, but they're also the things that scare me the most. When we hold so, how do you call it, fanatically to a dogma that we are not willing to open up our minds and empty our cup, like you have your empty cup there, to lead, to learn more. Yeah, or even get different perspectives. So hopefully that was not too much of a digression, but
oh no, it was great. I love collaboration. I know some people call it cooperation. I also know that you said something that I want to touch on really quickly. Who moved your cheese or my cheese? And you said 11 years ago your cheese was moved. Can you unpack a little bit more of that story? Because I know you've also been wildly successful, and I do want to talk next about your life of service and nourishing kids, and you've got so much great stuff that you're doing. But what happened 11 years ago that moved your cheese, and how did you respond to that?
So at that stage, I was director of crystallography at Pfizer, and Pfizer had made $1 billion bet in a clinical trials to bring a compound that was supposed to replace Lipitor in their portfolio. And that $1 billion bet missed when they unblinded the clinical studies and showed that there were issues with that drug. So that was a flush, not only of money, but it was also a downsizing of many sites within Pfizer, because Lipitor was 25% of their global revenue. And contrary to people thinking that these are all free, there is a lot of investment going into drug discovery, and I rode out on wave 95. I mean, I'm very grateful for the experience with Pfizer. I'm very grateful for what they've done and how they sort of eased that sort of moving of the cheese. But I was done at that stage with working for corporate, even though it was a fantastic career. And I looked for something else, and an MD PhD friend turned me on to the world of direct sales. People like it, people don't like it. There are good players, there are bad players, but really for me, I'm still 11 years on, a huge proponent of that vehicle to make cash flow, because I always tell people, if you're living in the land of the free and the home of the brave entrepreneur, which is the US, find a passion and build your business around that passion and have it be a plan B. I mean, if I had a plan B in 2009, that transition would have been less traumatic. But it's like everything. We don't really do things until they become real. Few people sort of anticipate and proactively prevent, and hence they're sort of set up. I mean, so that was my journey, and I moved into the world of direct sales with the company Chopra endorsed, and I loved that for the education of traditional medicine. So it was a different, you move from the coin of life of treatment and cures to wellness and prevention. And now, really, if you think of it now, we are living, 2020 has been an awesome year to have people recalibrate and refocus on how do they want to protect themselves and how do they want to manage their risk? Because life is risk, both health, wealth, and wise risk. So how are you managing a risk, and who do you know, or who do you have in your life? Because we are the sum of the people that are surrounding us. Who do you know that helps reduce that risk and also increase and maximize your potential?
That's so awesome. You and I have so much in common, other than I didn't get a PhD, and I studied in Oxford for a quarter in college. Yeah. So I had some European influence in college, but that was about it. I want to touch on a couple things that you said.
Let me just say one thing here.
Yeah.
PhD is an acronym for poor, hungry, and desperate, or piled higher and deeper. all it allows a person to do, whether you live in the school of life or you go to the academic, it allows people to develop a critical thinking brain. That's all it does. And you have a wonderfully astute critical thinking brain, Lois. So don't really need a PhD.
I appreciate it. Well, it's funny. I was actually going to say that. You said poor, hungry, and desperate. That was me in 2008, because it was 2007. I had my car repossessed before my 30th birthday. I had put all my eggs in the basket called real estate industry. Even though I had massive success, it was kind of you mentioned the word dogma and having a closed mind. It was that experience that broke me down and got me to open my mind and start, for maybe the first time in my life, actually being curious and questioning what I had learned and what I had believed and all of the things, because I had all of these rules, right, in my brain that were very strict about paying my bills on time, and you can't file bankruptcy. If you lose your house, you're a failure. I had all of these negative thought processes, and it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And like you, I turned to direct sales and network marketing because I was pretty closed off to that prior to, and I realized, oh my gosh, I can't have all my eggs in one basket ever again. I've got to diversify. And I also had lost my health because of the stress of all of that trauma, and the rigid beliefs were actually what helped cause the trauma that my body then manifested a dis-ease, right? So I 100% agree with you that 2020 could be someone's best year ever if they really hear what you and I are saying about what have you learned this year that you can pivot and follow and go somewhere different. Don't you think that's kind of what you've seen as well for people this year?
I totally agree. I mean, it's only the, no pain, no gain. I mean, there are very, very trite sayings, growth. I mean, I learn nothing about the workings of my computer when it's working. It's only when all of a sudden it stops working do I actually learn about what the inner workings are. So not that I'm a sucker for punishment, but really, it gives us an opportunity to step back, and we need to take time out. That's why, when you had your issues, and I hear that story all the time, our body calls time out and says, here, this cannot go any longer. You're stressing me out. So the systems are failing, so I'm going to keep you in bed for a while and see if you can heal. And it's the same way with, I mean, I think the COVID world has slowed us down. It has made us reprioritize what are the things that are important. But also, I think it's the first time in my 11 years in doing wellness that the world now is all of a sudden talking about how can we proactively prevent, should we be taking vitamin C and zinc? Yeah. Should we be doing that all the time? Should we actually focus more and pay more for wellness rather than wait until we get sick, which is really just a human nature to do that. It's not bad or good. It just is the way it is, Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, it's a magical world of opportunity.
Here we have Sean Waite. He's always got a good line. This year may have given many of us PhDs.
I love it. Very, very well said, Sean.
And we have Jackie from Iowa. Thanks so much for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you on my class tomorrow. So thank you for being here, guys. So I want to talk about, you talk about collaboration, and it sounds like you learned a lot from the Great Recession, as did I. We humbled ourselves. We opened our minds. And you also talk about a life of service. Is that something that you've learned more in the last 11 years since you left the Pfizer corporate world, or has that been something that has been a part of your life? And what do you do? What do you call a life of service?
So, we live and we learn. We hopefully live and learn. And I have come across some wonderful people. One person is my Obi-Wan Kenobi, Dr. John Mayo. And he reminded me of a Christian philosopher called Paul Tillich. And there are 3 anxieties that we all feel as humans. The third of those anxieties is the anxiety that's associated with guilt. And it's the guilt that is not guilt for having done something wrong. It's the guilt for not living up to one's potential. We all have that. Yeah. The guilt associated with not living up to one's potential. So we all want to, I think we all have this feeling that we want to look back at our life as having meant something and having left something and having made some impact. And that breeds contentment and happiness. We are happy or content to the extent that we are of service to others. And there are many, I'm just quoting, standing on the shoulders of many of the wise people that have come before us. You can have everything in the world that you want so long as you help enough other people get what they want. Yeah. And that's Ziegler. And that's very, very important. Now we have to be real as well. As I said before, scientists trust God, everyone else bring them data. So the reality is we as humanity, even now, we need opportunity to deliver on our Maslow chart, specifically at the very bottom, food, shelter. When that gets moved away, people get very ugly. So what are their opportunities? What are there out there to help people not only live a life of fulfillment at the top, follow their purpose, but to provide a life and a living for their family. And that's real stuff. You have to help the people that cannot help themselves, but for everyone else, you empower. That's one of the missions of that I've sort of signed up to, is to be a force for good throughout the world by empowering people to improve their lives. People will find happiness when they know that, there are three things that drive them, according to Daniel Pink: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. You give that to people and they're happy. And if they're happy, then it's a happy community, it's a happy family, it's a happy world, or at least contented world. Again,
awesome.
It's hopefully that wasn't too off the charts.
No, it was perfect. We've got Sean and Jackie are tuning in. We're afraid of our own greatness and given a purpose when we are born, 100%. And I think for me, it's when I stumble and fall and things don't go the way they quote unquote should, right? We can all should upon ourselves every day if we want to, right? That kind of guilt and shaming thing. Or we could be curious and say, I wonder where this is going to take me, or what am I meant to learn through this bump in the road or this process? And to your point, how can I learn from this and give back to my community, my tribe, my country, whoever you're serving? Don't you do a lot with also talking back to life of service and helping enough other people get what they want? I love that quote. Don't you do something with nourishing children?
So I'm glad you brought that up, and I won't go into the details, but other than to say that if we use nourish as a watchword for our world, nourish the body, mind, and spirit, because it's that holistic trilogy that keeps us healthy, or what they call homeostasis, or balance. So one of my passions is, listening to Mary Robinson about 10 years ago, talking about climate justice. When you have a malnourished child or a starving child, that child's life going forward, if it doesn't die, is severely compromised. So, and let's acknowledge the fact that women are responsible for the nourishing, because they're the mothers. So mothers nourish and fathers protect. I mean, at a first level. Yeah. So if that mother does not know how to nourish the child is okay so long as it's in the womb or on the breast, because in that closed system of competition for resources, the child will win. That's how the species has survived. After it's off the breast, then it becomes a crapshoot as to what knowledge the mother has and what network the mother has to make sure that child gets continually all the raw ingredients it needs to build a brain, a heart, a body. Yeah. So that's where I sort of focus my efforts, is educate on nourishing. And how do you know you're nourished? How do you know your family is nourished? And what are you doing to at least, I cannot force people to eat anything, because some people would die because they would gag on food, but at least educate people. And then,
Awesome.
Just raise the level of awareness, because the minute you raise awareness, you've got a choice. Yeah, it's empowering to raise awareness. And of course, there will always be skeptics, like Galileo skeptics, that will refuse to look through the telescope. And, they're none so blind as those who will not see. And that requires a certain amount of patience and understanding on the person that's trying to educate.
So powerful what you said, because I can identify, you talk about nourishing the child, and they say it takes a village, right? So I know we can help our children of our future so much. So, I mean, I grew up without a mom. I was raised by a single dad, and there was a lot of trauma within that. However, the shining light, when people hear my story, they're like, Lois, how did you turn out the way that you did? And I was like, it took a village. And I was thankfully very protected. and nourished in a positive in many different homes. I adopted many different moms and dads and friends and aunts and uncles and grandparents to learn that wisdom, to keep moving forward. And so do you have like a project, and is there any way that other people can get involved with how you're focused on nourishing kids? Or how does one figure out, this is maybe too many questions at once, so forgive me, how does one figure out too what is their best life of service or direction for that?
I'm always open to hearing what hearing what people's wants and needs are, and seeing how I can be of help. So in that Calendly link, everyone can schedule, or welcome to schedule, a 30 minutes, and we can have a conversation. I'm not going to push stuff on you, Lois. I'm not going to say I do this, I do that, or the other. It's really what people want and how I can be of service. So that I leave it at that. That's my service to the community. At least an ear. Yeah. At least.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I put that on the screen here, guys. If you see below, this is how you can also reach Hans and be able to have that free consultation with him, and having like we're having right now, a deep thinking, feeling, purpose-driven conversation. Because when you talk about nourishing in mind, body, and spirit, that's actually why I named this Healthy and Wealthy and Wise. For me, mental health manifests into the body, which is where we need the abundance. And again, it's not necessarily just money, it's social capital, it's relationship, it's how you can also be of service. And then the spirit is the wisdom piece. I'm very, very deeply spiritual in believing that, we all have a purpose, and how do you live out that purpose and share that through your wisdom is really where I came up with that name. And I'd love to know, because you're such a deep thinker, when you hear the phrase healthy and wealthy and wise, Hans, what does that mean for you?
Well, we grew up, or I grew up, learning it, early to bed and early to rise makes a person healthy, wealthy, and wise. I mean, that's so, and I love that you've done that. I mean, I'm surprised that you even had it available to you, that it hadn't been stolen as a link somewhere before, so what it means to me is exactly what it means to you, is how do we maintain those three aspects of our health. And there's a lovely lady that I met on LinkedIn. She talks about human dignity, and the seven human rights. But those 7 human rights come with human responsibilities. We all stand on our soapbox of, I have a right to be here and do this, that, and the other. But what are your responsibilities? And the first right is the right to your body. But the first responsibility then becomes, what are you doing to keep your body functioning? And the body, as you say, includes the mind and includes everything else. So how does the body stay healthy? And then what do you know? And who do you have? I mean, this comes back to the powerful opportunity that I see all around now to bridge the intergenerational gaps. I mean, we got 4 generations now alive. How do we bring the wisdom from the old to the young, and the young to the old? It's not just a one-way street. That's one thing that we more mature people have got to recognize, that there is a lot of things to learn. And there's always be learned from the young, and there's a lot of things that the young learn from the old at every stage in life. Because really, you have to learn from the experts, because you just don't have enough time to figure it out all on your own.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? No one, we all learn from each other. First of all, if we can humble ourselves and be open-minded and not so fixed and dogmatic in our mindset. Like you said, there's a lot that we don't know, more that we don't know than we do know. That's where the mastermind philosophy comes in. And I know, you guys, please connect with Hans here as we wrap it up. This is how you can connect with him. He's a master global connector. He's in different mastermind groups. You can find him, if you haven't already, inside of Healthy and Wealthy and Wise, my Facebook community. He's one of my more active people in there. He likes, he comments, he engages. So please take him up on his free offer and reach out to him on the Calendly link, calendly.com/Hans-Parge, and I'll put that in the show notes as well. Is there anything else that you'd like to share as we close it out here?
We could go on forever, and I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity. I would say I wish you all nourished, safe, and happy.
I love it. I love it. Well, thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. This was, like I said, not surprisingly, one of our more depth-driven, spiritual, thought-provoking questions. If you saw value today, please hit the share button, share it with your community. And for those of you who are tuning in and know about this, don't forget, tomorrow, December 19th, is my Taking Action planning class, putting your 2021 on paper. As Jim Rohn, my mentor, always said, when do you start your year, Lois? When it's finished on paper. So you can go to loiscoffey.com/action and sign up so we can kind of continue what Hans and I actually, so I think eloquently started, is that conversation of how can you help other people get what they want in 2021 and get what you want in 2021. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. If you want an email of this episode, this amazing episode, so you can keep it for posterity, please sign up and subscribe at healthyandwealthyandwise.com. Until next time, guys, we'll see you. Actually, next week is the Christmas holiday. I might have a surprise guest. I might not. I might just be taking the rest of the year off. So we'll be back on January 1st. With Dr. John Poorman, kicking off the brand new year of 2021. He's an international holistic physician out of Arizona, and we're super excited to kick off a new year with him. So until next time, everyone, again, thank you, Hans. Here's to your best health, your best wealth, and your best wisdom. Bye-bye for now.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, refer a friend, and please drop me a rating or a review. If you do that, I'll reward you with a free 20-minute free coaching session on crafting your journey to your best self. Reach out to me at lois@loiscoffey.com to claim your 20-minute slot. Until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.